I have a niece who says, Eddie Buddy. She used to say, Eddie Buddy, please. I think that's what her teacher did at school. So she thought that was a fun game to play. She'd say, Eddie Buddy, please. Okay, sorry, I digress. Listen, this message today is really, really, really good. And I just have gained new perspective on the whole idea of being connected and being a part of a body and being and understanding the power of that very whole idea in a new way. And I want to remind us of what we've learned so far. First of all, Crystal taught us about the fact that we're hardwired, that we're created. Like in a computer, if it's hardwired, it's like in there. It's not something that you can pull out easily, right? I know nothing about computers, but I think I know that a little bit. And so God put in us, He created us with the desire, with the need, with the DNA that we're not complete unless we're connected with other people. We're just not complete. And Lloyd taught us so well on Wednesday about the fact that sometimes things get in the way of that. What Crystal's message said last Sunday was that, sorry Mike, that the biggest thing that comes against connection is shame. Isn't that right? One of the things that keeps us from wanting to connect or feeling like we don't or can't connect is that we feel ashamed or we feel shame from something somewhere in our life long ago. Mm-hmm. And so what we do is we'll build walls to keep us feeling safe because we want to keep our distance from people. And so we're going to talk about that at a little different, a little more in depth, maybe we could say today. And so what we know and what I want to point out is about how in the kingdom of heaven, it's so much about family. Jesus said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Father is a family member. We pray, he said, when you pray, pray like this. Our Father who's in heaven. And so family, Mary and Joseph, Jesus was born into a family. Families are the picture of the kingdom and the empowering unit of the kingdom of heaven and the earth. Amen. That was good. I like when that happens. So presently, if connection is our greatest need, then our greatest fear is I probably don't fit right. I'm probably not the one who's going to be what they need. I'm probably not good enough. I'm probably too big, too small, too unequipped, too whatever. There's got to be something wrong with me. All of those thoughts that the enemy brings against us become our greatest fear. And we have, in that picture, a tremendous desire to fit in. Consequently, that's our greatest fear. I might not fit there. They might not like me there. Etc. Etc. And at the same time as we want to fit in, what we end up doing is dyeing our hair green. That would be Sherry. Or Sonia. You what? But you don't fit in, but you do fit in. Because in trying to fit in, we want to be unique in our expression of who we are. And that's good, and that's okay, because we don't have anybody that fits like Sherry fits. We don't have anybody filling the spot that Sherry fills in this body, right? We don't have anybody exactly like Mark who takes care of the things Mark takes care of. So there's a uniqueness in our coming together that is perfectly the way God designed it. We got that so far? Okay. Okay. Isn't it so ironic, though? We want to be like them, but then we want to be unusual like them, I guess. That we join groups, that young people will join gangs even, and do dangerous things even, just because of the need they have to fit with someone else, to be connected to somebody else that's kind of like them. I think of it like I've heard teaching where people talk about finding your people. And it talks about that it's almost like they're singing your song. They're speaking your language. That I could go to some church in some other town that I just couldn't quite get on the same page with. But in this house, the way we do things here, it just feels right, it feels normal, and it's kind of, these are my people. Do you understand? And you've all been there, where I really want to talk to y'all over here, but this microphone is complicated. So it's a matter of looking for the people that you feel connected to or can connect to, that are doing what you want to do in life, that are expressing what you want to express in your life, so that you can connect. That makes sense, right? Good. I wanted to bring James up here. I don't know if some of you know little James. He comes sometimes and he builds things with the things that look like Tinker Toys. And if he was going to be here, I was going to give him a piece and say, I want you to build something with this. So you're going to have to use your imagination because James isn't here today. Say I give him this little red piece of Tinker Toy, and I tell him to build something, and he's very good at building things with those. And so he built a robot. That's something he's been building lately. But if you may not even see, by the time he finishes, you may not even see that little red connecting piece. But if you would remove it, the whole thing might crash. That's you. That's you. You may not even see, people may not even see the part that you play in the body that you're connected with. But if you're removed from it, things could crash. Or it would function awkwardly, or it would be handicapped in some way. You got that picture? I know you do. I'm just sorry he wasn't here, because he would have loved building for you. He would have loved that. So when we have, part of the thing about the family I talked about is the fact that the family has a name. And some families are real strong about that more than others. Like, I'm a Hall, and so because I'm a Hall, then it's this way. Or because I'm a Tim Bear, my last name is Bear, and the Bear family always does this way. And how important that is in children's lives, that they know who they are. My daddy this is my daddy, and this is how my daddy does stuff, and so this is how I do stuff. But in our culture today, it's very not that way. We have children growing up going, are you my mom? Are you my dad? Are you, they get shifted around, and families have been broken up so much that they don't necessarily have that family solid foundation for their lives. And so there needs to be extra grace for those. And I'm not disrespecting anyone, because I know life is a challenge, and I know things are difficult. But I know God is faithful, and that He has mercy for all those difficult situations. And for those children, I feel like we might even be able to identify the fact that some of all the brokenness that we see in lives, and the brokenness we see in sexuality, and all of that probably could look right there and say, wow, they didn't have a family who surrounded them. They didn't have someone they could say, that's my dad, that's the anchor for my life. I'm gonna put my feet on the ground and walk it out, So, part of belonging is that you have a family name. And so if you don't have a family name in your natural life, God's kingdom can release a family name to you. Jesus died so we could have a family name. We could be part of his family. And so as we look at not just in the natural, but let's look in the kingdom for a little bit and consider that we're born for that connection. We're born to have a name. And that's something that's always been so important to me, especially even when I was a classroom teacher. I would spend probably way too much time on the first day of school, but I had to know their names. I had to know the names of the children. I had to learn them so that I could go, Shelley. Because when you know somebody's name, there's more of a connection. And I used to work at the family bookstore after I quit teaching years ago, and I'd have a name tag. We had to wear a name tag, put our name on it. And then people would come in and call me by my name that I did not know. I was not a fan. I had an insurance man come to my house one time, and he was like, "Yeah, Vic." I was like, "No." Only old friends called me that. You know what I mean? It's like, don't presume that familiarity with me just because you have my name. So when we started the ministry in the breakfast ministry, it was so important to me that I could learn the name of the person that I'm ministering to, because somehow when you have a name, you have more value. If you're just this random person that can come and go and nobody really touches or even knows your name or says your name, it's like you're invisible. And there was one time we had a huge dinner, and I thought, well, I don't have time to write all the names down, so I was just doing the hash marks or whatever you call them, those little count 5. And it almost broke my heart. I was like, no, they're not just lines, they're people, they have names. And so I feel like that's just so important. I just want to share that about my little passion, but I think it's a God-given passion that we have a name and that he knows our name. And so let us go to the Bible now that you thought I wasn't going to go there. Let's look at John chapter 4. You thought, I came to church, I better get me a Bible, scripture. Speaking of coming to church, sometimes people say, oh, you know that church on Market Street? I went to that church once. I visited there once. And then they might have liked it a little bit, so then they came a couple more times. And then they might have said, I think that church is called Downtown Bethel. I want you to watch the progress, or the progression here. Yeah, I went to that church. I think it's Downtown Bethel. I go to Downtown Bethel sometimes. So we started out, there's that church. Then that church had a name. And then we continue coming, and we continue to build connections, and then it's like, that's my church. That's where I attend. That's my church. And in doing so come the privileges and the responsibilities of being a part of a body, a local body. Okay. Let's look at John chapter 4. This is a very familiar story, but I want you to watch connection. We're going to talk about it in light of connection, because I want you to see how powerful connection is. Verse, where do we start? 7, maybe? Jesus was traveling, and he came to Samaria, which is a town full of people that the Jewish people didn't like. And the Samaritans didn't like the Jewish people. And in verse 7, a woman from Samaria came to draw water where Jesus was waiting at the well. And he asked her, he said to her, give me a drink. For his disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. And the woman of Samaria said to him, now wait a minute, how is it that you, being a Jew, ask a drink from me, a Samaritan, not just a Samaritan, but a woman? Because Jews have no dealings with Samaritans. In other words, she's going, listen, you don't like me, I don't like you. Let's just get this squared away right off the bat. Here's my wall. I don't want you to come too close because, listen, we know about this woman, and she's been rejected a lot of times already in her life. Jesus wasn't moved by that. In verse 10, he answered and said to her, if you knew the gift of God and who it is who says to you, give me a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water. And the woman said to him, sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where then do you get that living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us this well and drank from it himself, as well as his sons and his livestock? And Jesus answered and said to her, whoever drinks of this water will thirst again, but whoever drinks of the water that I give him will never thirst. But the water that I give him will become in him a fountain of water springing into eternal, everlasting life. And the woman was thirsty then, wasn't she? She said, sir, give me this water, so I may not thirst or come here to draw. And Jesus said, go call your husband and then come here. And she said, I have no husband. And he said, you've said well, because in verse 18, you've had 5 husbands, and the one you are with now is not your husband, and of that you spoke truly. And the woman said to him, sir, I perceive that you're a prophet. Our father worshipped on this mountain, and you Jews say that in Jerusalem is the place where one ought to worship. And then Jesus said, woman, believe me, the hour is coming, and now is, when neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem, when you will neither worship the Father. You worship what you do not know, and we worship what we know, because salvation is from the Jews. So let's look at what happened there. At the beginning of that, she put up her walls because, as we learned, she'd had 5 husbands. Listen, in that day, it was illegal for the women to bring a divorce against a man. So 5 times she was married, and 5 times she was rejected. And the guy she was with right now didn't even give her the dignity to marry her. This girl knew about rejection. She knew what it felt like to be connected and be disconnected. She'd felt that pain, hadn't she? So she's expecting that from Jesus. He's another man. He's a man. He's a Jew. He doesn't like her because she's a woman, and he doesn't like her because she's a Samaritan. Listen, the women, even then, it was illegal to teach women the Torah in that day. The Jewish people in the church then, in the synagogues at that time, it was illegal to teach a woman. They devalued women so much. So Jesus goes to her and says, listen, I can give you water that's going to spring up in you and bring life to you, and you'll never thirst again. And then he starts teaching her about our Father's, the day is coming, and you're going to worship in spirit and in truth, and the Father's. He begins to teach her. And when he didn't respond to her rejection of him, but he pressed in and kept talking to her, her walls came down. She's like, this guy's connecting with me. He's not afraid of me. He's not going to reject me like the others have. And then she said, what? Our Father. She connected back. It's not just my Father now, it's our Father. She connected with him. And she got that he was reaching out to her, and she was not afraid to reach back. That's our greatest fear. We're going to reach out to somebody to be our friend, or to be our co-worker, or to be whatever, and they're not going to reach back. They're not going to want what we want from them. They're not going to give it. But she saw that in him, and she responded to it. And she connected. And he said to her, I know they threw you away, but I value you. Your life is valuable. And I love you, and I care about you. How would your life be different if you knew that he loved you like that? How would your life be different if you knew that you could reach out to him and he would reach back? What would you do differently if you knew that you were loved like that? How would your life be different if you knew that you were connected to somebody or to a body or to a family and you knew you could just be you and you knew you could be loved for just who you are? What happened to this lady when she got connected? You know the rest of the story, right? She goes back to her city, and she says, I met this guy, and he told me everything I ever did. And we've always heard that story and thought it was, yeah, he knows about your sin. He knows you've been living like that. He knows you're living with this man, not married to him. No. He's going, I know how much you've hurt. And I want to give you living water. And you're never going to thirst again. And so this outcast woman, who was looked down upon and thrown away by 5 men so far, changed her whole city. She went back and changed her whole city. She was a reject. Rejected time and time and time again. How powerful is connection? She connected her heart with his heart. And her whole city was changed. How much do we say that? World changers. We're changing the valley. We're going to change like Mark prayed over the children. We're going to change our families. Our families are going to change. The city's going to change. There's a lot of change that's required. Connection will give you the power to do that. Tim and Marina, we've connected even in the city and the organizations in the community and seen God do things in lives that had we not been able to connect the way we did, those things couldn't have happened. I'm sure glad we did, guys. Marina. Okay, let's go to the Old Testament. 1 Samuel chapter 22. First Samuel 22, verse 1, David departed. He's been running from King Saul because King Saul was jealous of him. Say jealous.
Jealous.
Raise your hand if jealousy is a good thing. No, Bob, it's not. He's trying to cooperate, though. And there are times, I gotcha, God's jealous of us. Well, you know that. But jealousy can kill you. That's the kind of jealousy I'm talking about. The jealousy that brings division and anger and all of those things. And jealousy comes from a poverty mindset. This is just a little side note, not about connection. But if God's got a pie and it's this big, and Lloyd gets my piece of the pie, then I think there's not a piece left for me. So I can't be happy about what Lloyd got because I think there's not enough for me too. That's a poverty mindset. That's a poverty mindset. If everybody's in line for prayer, and you think, oh, God's going to meet all their needs, but he probably doesn't have enough left over for me, I might as well not get prayer today. There's too many up there. God probably doesn't have enough. Listen, he's God. He can make a whole new pie. If we need it, he has it for us. He will have enough for us. So watch that and be mindful of that in yourself. If you have trouble celebrating what someone else is getting, how God is blessing someone else, just ask God, how am I feeling that way? Why am I feeling that way? Help me heal my heart. So when we can celebrate it, then we can have some too. We just have to say, me too, God. He's good like that.
That's good.
So David is hiding from his jealous king Saul. And he goes to a cave at Adullam. And his brothers in his father's house heard it, and they went down to him. Blah, 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 blah. And verse 2, here we are. Everyone who was in distress, everyone who was in debt, and everyone who was discontented gathered there to him. And then he became captain over them, and there were about 400 men. So he got the cream of the crop, didn't he? Oh, you're in distress? Yeah, you can be on my team. Yeah, you want to play volleyball? Okay, you guys that are in debt, you can play with me. Okay, he's got all of those people. And he got to be put in charge of them. Discontented people. Yeah. But guess what? They got connected. They connected with David, and they connected with each other. And at the end of David's life, in 2 Samuel chapter 23, these are the final words that King David had. These are the things that were on his mind when he was dying. These were the last words. Go to verse 8. He said some things, and then he got to this part. In verse 8 he said, "These are the mighty men that King David had. The ones who were in debt, the ones who were discontented, and the ones who were distressed. Now they're called something else. They're called his mighty men. Because they connected with David, they had a leader, they went with him, and listen with grace to their names." Because names are important. Was that me that said something about names being important? Now I got to say them. So there's that one guy who was attacked tonight, Joshebashabeth. He was called Adino, which is much easier to say, because he killed 800 men at one time. And after him was Eleazar, the son of Dodo, the Ahohite, one of the 3 mighty men that David, and then they defiled the Philistines who were gathered for battle, and the men of Israel had retreated, but they went after him. Verse 10, he arose and he attacked the Philistines until his hand was weary, and his hand stuck to the sword. And the Lord brought a great victory that day, and the people returned after him to plunder. And after him was Shammah. Remember, this is David. These are his last words. These are really important words. You know, when somebody dies, everybody's like, what did they say? Did they say anything that you just want to hang on every word that they said? And he's remembering these guys who started out so rough. Okay, I just didn't want you to forget that. After him was Shammah, the son of Agi, the Hararite. The Philistines had gathered together, and there was a piece of ground full of lentils. This is so cool. And the people fled from the Philistines, and he stood in the middle of that field, and he defended it. A field of lentils, and said, "You are not taking this field right here." And King David remembered that. When he was dying, he remembered that guy, because he didn't back down. And the Lord brought a great victory in verse 12 there. 13, there were 3 of 30 chief men. They went down at harvest time, and David at the cave of Adullam, and the troops of the Philistines encamped in the valley of Rephaim, and David was there in the stronghold, and so on. In verse 15, David said, "Oh, somebody would give me a drink of water from the well of Bethlehem by the gate." And so 3 mighty men broke through the camp of the enemy, drew water from the well in Bethlehem by the gate, and took it and brought it to David. But David wouldn't drink it. And he poured it out on the ground, and he said, "I'm not going to drink. This is the blood of men who risked their lives and put their lives in jeopardy so I could have a drink of water. I'm not going to drink it." But how valiant were those men? How noble were those men who were connected to David so much that they would risk their lives to get him water in the midst of a battle. And verse 18, there's Abishai, the brother of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, the chief of another 3. And he lifted up his spear against 300 men, and he killed them, and he won a name among these 3. Was he not the most honored? Therefore he became their captain. And then there's Benaniah in verse 20, the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man from Kabzeel, who had done many deeds. He had killed 2 lion-like heroes of Moab, and he had gone down and killed a lion in the midst of a pit on a snowy day. Listen, these guys became mighty men. Almost when I was reading over that and was thinking about when we sit around and go, remember that day? Remember that day we had that Christmas dinner? Remember that day we carried all those tables and we had all those people and we had all that food show up? Remember that day we served the Christmas dinner and we know we ran out of turkey, but there was still more turkey? Remember that? That's what I was feeling like when I was reading this. Remember that day when Tim's back was hurting really bad and he had all this back pain? Remember when we fought the enemy and Tim's back quit hurting that day? Because we're connected. How much power is there? And how important is it? Because someday somebody's going to be saying, these are the mighty people that connected with us, that we fought and won the city of Parkersburg with. These are the mighty men and women who wouldn't back down, who wouldn't stop believing God for resurrection, for life, for blind eyes to be opened, for cancer to be defeated, for drug addiction to be defeated. These are the mighty men and women. Here we are. Some of us in distress, some of us in debt, some of us discontented. But as we connect with one another in the name of Jesus, as we connect, and what I have, what life I have, I can release to you, and what life you have, you can release to me. So we're stronger. We can fight the enemy. What does it say? One of us can put 1,000 to flight. 2 of us, 10,000. So who are your people? Who are you connected with? What's your life going to look like if you connect yourself with Jesus? What's it going to look like if you connect with his body? I know I've told it before, I'll tell it again just for the picture. I didn't know about this about sheep. But sheep are born with a longer tail. And when they're born, and when the shepherd will put a tight band around the tail, so tight that the circulation doesn't go to the end part of the tail. And it eventually just falls off. Because there's no flow of life to that part of the tail. So let's not allow walls, hindrances, separations to keep us from bringing life to one another, to keep us from connecting with one another in a way that's going to bring life. Because we don't want anybody to fall off. We don't want anybody to separate and fall away because we're not connecting. Does that make sense? I know it does. So I pray that your ears are hearing it and your hearts are receiving it. And that's really kind of the end of my message. But I wanted to challenge you, and I wanted to ask if anybody has a sense that you don't know what it's like to be connected to the body of Christ. All that takes is a simple yes to Jesus. He died for your sins. He loves you like he loved that woman at the well. He wants to give you rivers of living water. He wants to give you life eternally, abundantly. So if you're not connected to his body like that, you just have to say yes to him. If you want prayer or help with that, just come on up.